Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Reference Point. I'm your host, Dave Cokerhook. We're into the second segment of conversation with Dee Dee Kiso and Colonel Chris Kolenda on the Saber Six Foundation, and I really appreciate that you came back. So, Dee Dee, welcome back.
Thank you.
Chris,
Pleasure to be back.
Nice to have you back again.
Thank you, Dave. It's a delight to be back with you.
So, I'm going to start out by asking my guys to throw up that image with on the books. You've written a couple of 3 books, I hear. So you're just, you're an author, a consultant, a visionary. I mean, you've got quite a lot going on.
It's a joy. Leadership: The Warrior's Art was my first book. It came out in 2001, and about 19 different people contributed chapters to that. It was an absolute joy to put together, and people carried that book with them into combat, which was pretty gratifying. And then book number 2 is the Counterinsurgency Challenge. It's really about how leaders make decisions in extraordinary circumstances like combat. Mm-hmm. And then Zero Sum Victory, What We're Getting Wrong About War, looks at the wars in Vietnam, Iraq, and Afghanistan that have all turned into disasters, and looks at the common errors that we make, the sort of self-inflicted errors that we make at the policy and strategy level that increase the risk of these wars turning into disasters. I mean, in each case, our soldiers fight valiantly. They do what they're asked to do. But oftentimes the policy and strategy isn't worth their service and sacrifice, or isn't worthy of their service and sacrifice. Right. And so this book is about how to, the common sense reforms that we need to make to change that.
Very cool. Well, thank you for writing those. I haven't read any of them yet. Dee Dee just told me about them the other day, so I haven't had a chance to even...
You've got some reading to do.
I do, but that's all right, because, that's how I learn things. Having these kind of interviews and then reading. So I want to pick up kind of where we left off, which was talking about the work that Saber Six is doing to try to help people reach that level of becoming and get, back with purpose and fulfillment and whatever. And I want to understand what it is that you guys do to try to accomplish that. Are you there, Chris?
I sure am. Okay. Okay. No, thanks for that question, Dave. And this gets at kind of where we left off in the last interview, and how we help get it ahead of the crisis, how we help people get on the growth path, right, instead of the drift path. And so the 3-circle Venn diagram is purpose, belonging, and well-being.
Okay, let's call that one up right now.
You've got to have all 3.
I've got my guys ready to pull. Here we go. So you've got purpose, belonging, and well-being. And so when you talk about these 3, you've sort of touched on them a little bit already, but if you wouldn't mind, from your perspective, redefining what purpose, belonging, and well-being mean.
Sure. So your purpose is, what is my personal, what is my professional reason for being? What are the goals I'm seeking to achieve? What's the impact that I want to make on this world? And it's something that's going to constantly evolve. Mm-hmm. You're never going to be what you were, but you're going to be something different. And it's up to you to define what that becoming something different is going to be. Okay. In terms of belonging is all about who you making that journey with. Oh, okay. And we'll talk about the 3 kinds of people that affect your life, and the ones that you need to be hanging with when it comes to belonging. And then finally, well-being is your ability to go the distance. So it's all about your mental and emotional health, your physical health, your spiritual health, and you've got to have all 3 in order to be successful. So if you have belonging and well-being, but you're missing purpose, then you're just going to feel like you're drifting, you're wandering aimlessly. If you've got purpose and well-being, but you're missing belonging, then you're going to feel a sense of isolation and alone, and it's going to undermine your ability to move forward.
Right.
And then if you got purpose and belonging, but you're missing well-being, then you're going to believe that you can't go the distance, that you can't make it.
So let's go.
And so you're going to flame out.
Guys, could you go back to the PowerPoint? There you go. So that's what you're talking about. You need all three of these things, because if you just have two of them, you're not really going. You're still missing some components, right? And that the need
exactly
is
right.
to go with all four, and that's where your becoming sort of thing comes from, right?
Yeah, that's when you're becoming an ever better version of yourself.
Okay.
Is when you're right in the center there. You got all three working for you.
Got it. Now
and that's what the Saber Six Foundation is all about. It's all about helping folks, giving them the giving people the processes, giving people the experiences and the connections to help them define, so that they define that path, what becoming an ever better version of themselves is for each individual.
Okay. So how do you do that?
Well, first, what we've done is broken down each one of the three. So you've got to make it like doable for folks, and so if purpose, belonging, well-being are the principles, well, what are the behaviors that are associated with that? What are the actions that are associated with that? So when you look at purpose, you're really talking about the impact that you want to make in this phase of your life. Your standards. So your standards are your values, your expectations, the standards of yourself, of the people around you, and then what's your growth plan? So purpose encapsulates all three of those. And so helping people, very simply, okay, I'm going to define what my personal, professional impact is going to be in this phase of my life. What are the standards and values that are important to me? How am I going to grow personally? When you get to belonging, part of it is about your the community. So what are the communities that you belong to? How do you serve them? And then zappers, it's all about hanging with the right crowd. So there are three kinds of people that we meet that affect us in life. And I can tell Dee Dee's already smiling because she hears this all the time.
She's heard this before.
So they're called sappers, trappers, and zappers.
Sappers, trappers, and zappers. I like that. That's pretty good.
Yeah. So sappers are the people that suck your energy away. They're the ones that are always complaining, they're trauma dumping, they're gossiping, they're always negative, they're always trying to drag you and others down. So those are sappers. They like suck your energy. And of course you want to stay away from sappers. Trappers are people who want to keep you trapped like a bug in amber, because they're comfortable with a certain version of you. And you growing threatens that comfortable version. And so trappers will say things like, oh, you're making the rest of us look bad. Oh, you don't want to do that. Making another, $1 million. Oh, that's just going to increase your tax burden. You shouldn't do that. I mean, they're going to do anything to discourage you from growth. And then zappers, people like Dee Dee Kiso, are people who give you energy. And they are the people who are, they want what's best for you. They're willing to tell you the truth, and they help build your capacity. And so the more that we hang out with zappers, the more we become just like that. So that, there's the theory, just make an inventory of the top 5 people you hang around with. And are they sappers, trappers, or zappers? And if you got 5 for 5 on zappers, you're probably rocking it. But if you've got some of the other types in there, then then it's time to take a look at who you're spending time with.
Time to make
so that's the belonging side. And then when it comes to well-being, you have of course your mental and emotional well-being. One of the things that we're helping people do is master their triggers. We can talk about that as part of mental well-being. Physical well-being, getting people into cycling, hiking, running, etc. and in spiritual well-being. So it could be how you worship. It could be just spending your time in nature, whatever spiritual means to you. And so when you've got those elements working for you, then you join purpose and belonging, and you get joy. You join purpose and well-being, and you get hope. And you join belonging and well-being, and you get love. And all of those things are what propel you to become an ever better version of yourself. And it's an evolution that just never stops.
Makes sense. So, so when you engage with someone, are you kind of? They're not going to necessarily have understood this information, these concepts, okay? And you may or may not even need to explain the concepts to them, depending upon how it is that your programs work. But they're going to experience it, and maybe they'll get, the little details afterwards about how it all came together. So when you work with someone, how do you identify where they are on any of these points?
Well, they're gonna self-identify. What we can do is we bring people together. We have monthly stable calls. We bring folks together, and there'll be some capacity building and some storytelling. With that, our last one of the troopers who was in our biggest battle ever, where Ryan Fritchie and Tom Bosta were killed. He talked about his experiences there, absolutely powerful, and then how he's used that to grow into a ever better version of himself. And he's now with the National Park Service as a firefighter. Cool. So we spent some time talking about firefighting and wildfires. Well, he's one of the people that fights them.
Got it.
And so we bring people together that way. We're putting together our intellectual property on each of those 9 elements.
Okay, great.
Around purpose, belonging, and well-being. So people, our members will be able to go anytime and watch a short video and do an assignment that leads them to establishing what's my next impact, what are my standards, who are my zappers, etc. And then finally, and we're hosting our event in Northern California in Petaluma over Veterans Day weekend, is to raise money for adventure experiences.
Right.
One of the things that I think set us apart as a unit, as an organization, 15 years ago, is we always did cool stuff when it came to training. We always did cool stuff when it came to being together, and so these individuals served in combat, protecting America's beauty, protecting American citizens, and what we are raising money for is to bring them in groups of about 12 to 14 to America's beauty, to America's national parks, and where we will do cycling and hiking and whitewater rafting and capacity building around the 3, purpose, belonging, and well-being. And so you're going to have this, this group of people, 10 to 12 folks, in each group, or 10 to 15 folks in each group.
Sure.
And they'll all be people who knew each other, who served together in combat. So you already have those bonds.
Right.
And then, those, that extraordinary experience in places like, whether it's Yosemite or the Grand Canyon or the Grand Tetons and so many other places, you're there in a place of incredible beauty with people who matter to you, and you're doing things that help you build your future. Right. It's an experience that people will never forget, and that's what we're fundraising for this year.
So the first wave of activity of engaging and implementing the kind of process that you had described earlier, belonging, purpose, well-being, is with the men, the 800, right? The original organization. So, Dee Dee, tell us a little bit about this event. I think we have a graphic of Petals and Parachutes. I think that's the name of the event that's coming up Veterans Day 2026. So, the other one. That's the
minute by
that's
minute.
the thing that's supposed to.
There we
There
go.
you go, that one. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about this program and what the plan is and how it all came about.
Well, thanks, Dave, for the opportunity to talk about this. We're really excited to be able to engage community and people who can come and hear about us, learn about us, meet our veterans, and support us in these endeavors for the adventures and to raise money for that. So on November 10th, we'll be having a gala in Petaluma, and we have a couple VIPs coming. You can look into that when you can check it out.
Yeah, I saw this. You got
Yeah.
some names here.
We do. So we have Jay Johnson and Dick Gephardt.
Yeah.
Put me on the spot to think of names, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to come and do a fireside chat, talk a little bit about, presidential leadership. We have election coming up next year. So that'll be very interesting, and we'll be able to come together. Our friends at Specialized are getting us some wonderful cycling equipment and things that we'll be able to sell at auction. The next morning, we'll be having a couple of bike rides with veterans going off into the beautiful countryside of the Petaluma wine country, a 25 and a 48-mile ride. And then Chris and Saber Six are going to be the Grand Marshals of the Petaluma Veterans Day Parade.
Oh, that's cool.
And finally, on Sunday, people can join the unit and do tandem skydiving up at the Cloverdale Airport.
These were parachuters, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Okay, so we're going to do skydiving.
Exciting
I love that,
weekend.
Which is really cool. All right, I'm going to have to ask you a question because I'm going to ask the type of question that a lot of just Joe and Jane Doe on the street would be. Could you tell us who the two individuals you mentioned, what is their background? Who are these guys, Mr. Gephardt and Mr. was it Johnson?
Yes. Hey, Chris, you know them personally. Why don't you tell us a little more?
I do. Jay Johnson was the Department of Homeland Security Secretary in the Obama administration.
Okay.
And he served as the general counsel in the Department of Defense. And that's where I met him. And then he went on to become a cabinet level secretary. And then Dick Gephardt was the House Majority Leader. He was on the Democrat side, House Majority Leader, and served in Congress, probably 30 something years.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Absolutely extraordinary. To hear him talking about his spending time with President Bush after 9/11 and trying to chart a course forward to move America forward in the wake of the tragedy. I mean, it's just one of the most moving conversations I've ever had. And so, these are two of my heroes, and I was absolutely thrilled that they said that they would come. And then we're getting ready to go into a presidential election, and having two people who spent a lot of time with many different presidents.
Yeah.
From I think Nixon forward.
Yeah.
And talking about presidential leadership to that audience is going to be extraordinary. So we're excited about that.
Should be very interesting.
Very grateful to Petaluma for rolling out the red carpet for us. It's just going to be such an extraordinary event, and we think people are just going to get a lot of joy from it.
Now, so do you have any idea how many of your 800 might be there?
We're planning for probably about 20, 25 or so. That's how many we typically get. We had at different reunions and things like that. So of course, people are now in midlife. They've got kids, they've got responsibilities, and so we move these events in different parts of the country so different people can engage in them.
Which makes sense. If it's relatively easy to get to, then you can bring your family. It's harder to go all the way across country, but if you're in California or Washington, Oregon, Nevada, whatever, it makes sense. Okay, well, that's very cool. And so that's over the Veterans Day time here, and that's going to be up in Petaluma, California, which is very cool. That's not too far from here. So, so I had written down a question here that I want to toss out, going back to something that we had looked at earlier in the previous segment, Chris, when we were talking about drift and growing. And there was a line there that you had in your initial presentation had called it maintaining. Okay, how do you identify someone that's maintaining? I mean, what are the characteristics of someone that's maintaining?
Well, I think maintaining it's something that allows you to differentiate between drift and drift and growth. I don't think anybody really just maintains, just keeps things the same. You're either growing or you're drifting, and if you're not growing, you're drifting. So that maintaining line was designed just to show how far off center you are when you drift and the effects of that over time. But I think as anybody who's in business, who is in life knows that if you're not growing, if you don't constantly have something new that you're looking forward to, and this idea of becoming an ever better version of yourself, once you get complacent, you're going to start drifting.
Right.
And so that's what we're trying to help folks avoid.
Got it. Makes sense. Okay, so you'll be coming out for the Petaluma event, correct?
Absolutely. I can't wait.
Okay, well, that should be fun. It's going to be a good time. So, all right, so we have a sense as to the objectives for Saber Six Foundation. We know what the initiation points are, working with the men and women who were part of your unit. My understanding is that from something that you said in the last segment is that the longer term objective is to be able to expand the activity outward beyond just your unit, and even beyond just the returning service people. It's like it's a program that has potential to be able to serve the needs of just, humans.
Absolutely.
So what can people do to help support that initiative? Dee Dee, I'm going to go to you for this one.
Oh, well, I'd love to offer people an opportunity to make a joyful gift. Really, just go to our website and make a gift. Read about what we're doing. See some of the things that we've done and learn about some of the wonderful people that have been transformed and are having more joy in their life. And if it speaks to you to leave a gift behind to elevate somebody else, we would appreciate that so much.
And then you guys, anybody who's in striking distance can come on up to the Petaluma event. Now I understand that some of the information about the event is just getting posted on the website, and it should be there pretty quick, and people will be able to. Okay, well that's good.
You'll be able to register, come on down and join us, see the parade.
See the parade, yeah. I like parades.
Dave, one of the things that I'm most proud of as the founder is, just seeing what our paratroopers are saying about how this is reconnecting has just helped them improve their mental health and well-being. Just talking about how the struggles that people go through when you've done something awesome in your 20s, and then you struggle after that, like it can never be that. The challenges of purpose and belonging and midlife. Just letting people know that, look, you're normal. Yeah. You're not broken. You're normal. People go through this, and people make it through this. And here's how they do that. That's just not about our 800 folks. So that's where I personally am focused. Sure. But people outside of our organizations who have gotten that message write me and just tell me about how much that has meant to them, what kind of peace of mind that's given them. We've had people check themselves into inpatient care just saying, you know what, I'm normal. Yeah. I'm a normal person who went through a bunch of abnormal experiences, and it's time for me to get well. And so, as Dee Dee mentioned, this just becomes a model. Everything that we talk about can help anybody, veteran or civilian. And we've got a process now that any other like-sized organization that wants to start with belonging and help the people that they served with in combat go through the sort of life-altering, becoming an ever better version of yourself experiences, then they can do the exact same thing, and we can help them along the way.
Support them along the way. I think, Chris, that one of the things you said in that last 2 minutes is probably one of the most significant things, and that is that these kinds of experiences are normal. We have them. We've all done them. I did not serve in the military, but I can relate to those issues and challenges of, what you were doing when in your 20s and early 30s, and all this, and the excitement and the positive activity and whatever, and then things change. You lose a job, something happens, whatever, and then life just sort of goes upside down, okay? And that kind of a challenge is a challenge that is a human challenge. So what you're doing here is not just providing an opportunity and a solution for the men and women who are coming back from service, though from my perspective that's one of the more significant things that's going on. But you're offering something that is universally applicable. So thank you for that.
No, thank you, Dave. We absolutely believe that, and it's a way to help people get off the rehab hamster wheel.
Yeah.
I mean, the deaths by suicide, the overdoses, the things that so many veterans go through. We haven't found a cure for it, and the corrective and remedial action is not improving the situation.
Right.
So the only way to improve the situation is to get ahead of it. And that's through preventive action, and that's by helping people focus on becoming an ever better version of yourself. And you're exactly right. It's not just about, our specific group or veterans in general. I mean, this applies to everybody.
Applies to everybody.
And we are very excited to enter this next phase. We're bringing people on these adventure experiences, and it's just going to propel them ever stronger on that, on that growth trajectory. And the neat thing is, anybody can do this.
Anybody can do this. Well, with that, I think we're going to end off. So I want to thank you both, Dee Dee and Chris, for joining us here to have this conversation. And we'll have to maybe get back together after Petaluma and see how things went and see what we can talk about that. But thank you again for both of you for helping us understand what Saber Six is all about and what the foundation is capable of doing, not just for the veterans, but in general for people. And I'm getting the signal. I got to finish up here. So ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next time on Reference Point.